looks now that metal tumor I am meant to die. That vengeance is a brutal beast not held by any cell. My wit is steel, my blade is wet, so sound the reaper's bell. Banker, general, and judge, you all shall burn in hell.
This opening can essentially sum up what it's like to play the Dishwasher Vampire Smile. With its extremely fast-paced, exhilarating, and blood-soaked gameplay, to its complementary, stylized look and soundtrack, the Dishwasher Vampire Smile easily is one of my all-time favorite games. My name is CrossVee, and this is why I love the Dishwasher Vampire Smile. Despite its strange name, this Xbox Live Arcade original, which was released to Steam in 2017, caught my attention in middle school when I was fresh on getting my Xbox 360. Only had a handful of games, those being Modern Warfare 3, Dead Rising 2, Street Fighter 4, Black Ops 2, and Persona 4 Arena, which actually got an updated port after many years, but we'll talk about my excitement for that another time. I was on a family vacation when I found it while browsing the Xbox Live Arcade in our hotel room. Immediately, I fell in love just from the screenshots alone, so being the little bitch baby I was, I begged my parents to let me get a new game. And I completely dodged around the fact what kind of game I was buying, cause... see what I'm seeing, right? But after a day, I had officially gotten and downloaded the game. This marked a turning point for me when it came to the games I played, as I would almost always play it every day, repeatedly doing all the challenges, the story mode, and the disc challenge, and we'll get to talking about these in just a moment. Long story short, I was just obsessed with the game. I fell in love with the creators over at Ska Studios, which at the time is just James Silva and Shane Lynch, as well as all the other volunteers that participate in the different projects. Ska Studios is mostly known for Salt and Sanctuary. It's a 2D Souls-like game that I also love. I never beat it though, I'm a little baby, but maybe one day I'll give it another go. Other games they've made include Charlie Murder, the upcoming Salt and Sacrifice, a sequel to Salt and Sanctuary, and I made a game with zombies in it, just to name a few, but it wasn't until 2009 was the world introduced to the Dishwasher, in the Dishwasher Dead Samurai. I had never played Dead Samurai, even though I did want to get it at some point when I had my 360. But from what I've seen and heard, I didn't miss too much. But it still feels great to see the massive jump in quality from Dead Samurai to Vampire Smile. Visuals seem drastically improved, and even the gameplay seems to make leaps and bounds to be smooth and satisfying. Enough with the exposition, let's get a move on to talking about the actual game now and why I love it so much. The Dishwasher Vampire Smile is a 2D hack-and-slash action game that gives even the most button-mashing of individuals that old Devil May Cry badass feel. With an arsenal of weapons, each with its own way to feel and move list, with guns and magic to boot, you can delve into do some pretty sick-ass combos to rack up some major pointage, or just mash your way through and receive the same bloody high-octane feedback. In the story mode, you either play as the Dishwasher, go figure, or his sister Yuki, as you rip and tear through about 13 levels for each. Both characters feel very different in the way they play, as they have different weapons with some fairly different combos. And although I liked Yuki's set of weapons more, Dishwasher had a more unique set of weapons, which were also fairly satisfying to use. Woo! Toaster action, baby! I've mastered the toaster, and now I'm unstoppable. First up, I'll talk briefly about the story, since it wasn't too long. As a kid, I remember it being way better than what it actually was, but regardless, I did enjoy what was presented to me, even if it could have been a lot better. It did its job at setting a world, the characters, and their goals, while also being just satisfying enough to satiate me. I won't be talking about major spoilers, but if you don't want to be spoiled at all about the story, consider skipping to this timestamp on screen. You have 5 seconds before I get started. Are they gone? Have you guys ever heard of Ligma? Everything starts off with a flashback in which the dishwasher kills Yuki, who eventually finds herself under the control of some higher power that is slowly trying to take over her body. When you play Yuki, you'll be hunting down individuals of an overarching empire that has wronged her, and as a dishwasher, you try to hunt down and kill the fallen engineer, the main antagonist of the series. You'll also be crossing paths with Yuki on her vengeful rampage and attempting to free her from that higher power. Both endings are different depending on which character you play. If you play Yuki, you'll wind up killing the dishwasher by accident and going to finish her mission, taking care of the dishwasher's mission in the process. But if you play as the dishwasher, you get a chance to free Yuki, allowing you to later fight alongside her in the first part of the final boss, getting an ending that allows both protagonists to achieve their goals in a rather happy way. Yuki's got a cat. That's pretty cute. The locations and settings throughout each level are fairly well distinct from one another. From underground labs to psych wards to the surface of the moon itself, I enjoyed running through these rather beautiful looking locations as I entered different arenas and soaked the walls and ground in the blood of my enemies. You'll be tearing through zombies, teleporting cyber ninjas, chainsaw jack-o'-lantern robots, giant rocket launcher wielding samurai, invisible cyber ninjas, men dressed in suits, robots, cyborg sword wielding drones, regular drones. The bosses are also even more varied. Each level has its own boss, and each are an absolute joy to fight. Crazed hockey players, wardens, abominations, creeper, aw man, Squid Game, and even a giant mechanical dragon. When I first played, I genuinely looked forward to each boss, not knowing what was going to come next. Like, look at this! This shit's badass! There were some rather weak contenders, but overall, they were fantastic and fun to fight. Some even became regular enemies you could encounter as you carried on. There were 2 in particular that especially stood above the crowd. Those 2 bosses were the Invalid and the Lich, both of which had unique mechanics to their fight that made them stand out. The Lich summoned size that flies around attacking, but occasionally pulls you into a field where you are swarmed by shadow zombies. It's fairly easy, but allows for some flavor to be added to this boss. This flavor is taken up a few notches when it comes to the Invalid though. As you walk into the boss room, it begins to slow down, as the screen begins to turn static until the camera pans over to the boss and you approach it some more. And then everything then continues as you play minigame after minigame, eventually playing a small text-based RPG game until you finally beat the boss. Both of these bosses are great fun, and I love the stylistic nature of both of them. My only gripe is that both of these bosses were a bit too easy. I never felt as if there was too much difficulty, even when I did turn up the difficulty later on. There is, of course, one massively epic boss, and that is the final boss itself. It turns style, theme, and difficulty up quite a few decibels, and I loved it. Well, regardless, I know I put a spoiler for the story, but I'm going to put a spoiler for the final levels and final boss. Skip to this timestamp if you want to avoid the sick-ass final level spoilers. Are they gone? So seriously, about that Ligma thing. The final boss has massive build-up, having you fight huge waves of enemies and a short boss rush, and a giant mechanical dragon to reach the top of the building. But then suddenly... nightmare fuel. So this guy immediately started just wrecking my shit, and even when you think you finally beat him, he takes you on a trip. God, oh man, I don't want to dishes today. You know, Barry, can you do them? You always know what to say when I need you. Yeet! He becomes a massive puppet master, controlling puppet versions of the enemies you've been fighting during the game, then into a full silhouetted fighting sequence, taking on these enemies until you reach the big bad himself with 3 different phases. You take on each one until you get the sweet, sweet execute at the end.
It's so sad to see jobs die with you. Who the hell is Steve Jobs?
The lead up to this boss was a true test of your earned skills that you culminated up to this point, and the payoff with such a great ass final boss and stage is even better. The higher the difficulty, this all gets way more intense and much more fulfilling as you get better and better. Once the credits started to roll, I found myself with a sense of satisfaction, but I still wanted more. It was over and I felt fulfilled, but I wished it was a bit longer. There were 2 stories that I could play through, but at least there's some replay value in the game's difficulties, each one being a significant step up from the other, then unlocking each spirit bead and weapon upgrade as well. Besides replaying the story, there are about 2 other modes you can dedicate some time to. Back on the original Xbox 360 arcade release, I found myself playing the Dish Challenge all the time. It always felt great pushing to try and maintain a huge combo counter all the way until the ending and get a massive amount of points for it. I made attempts in rising leaderboards, and if my memory serves me well, I think I was ranked between 1000 to 1100 in the Dish Challenge global leaderboards, but right now I'm sitting at rank 716 out of 3881 on the Steam version of the game. There are leaderboards for pretty much every mode, so if you're into grinding for the best scores in the leaderboards, you can definitely go for that. I'm just kinda too casual to do so. The one thing I'm not too keen on with this game is its online stability and its bugs. I and many others encountered quite a few bugs when it came to playing co-op. The online isn't the game's strongest suit, but when it works, it's a lot of fun to just rip and tear with a friend. Overall, that's pretty much the Dishwasher Vampire Smile experience. It's a fantastic game and to this day remains one of my absolute favorite games ever. If this game intrigues you even a little bit, I recommend giving it a shot. For only $10, I think it's absolutely worth the time of anyone who is interested. I hope to do more videos like this in the future and just overall get back into content creation again. I miss it, and to those who've missed it... Okay, come on guys, seriously, let's talk about this Ligma thing, y'all. It's pretty important.